This is the BBC.
Dear brothers and sisters, all are welcome here at the Confessions podcast, whether saint or sinner.
Yeah, that sounded fine. Yeah.
Hello and welcome. It's a Confessions podcast from the BBC. Hey, who wants a Christmas jingle?
Yes, please.
Yay.
Right, here we go. There we go. Right. Yeah.
88 to 91 FM, BBC Radio 2.
That was ID Wow Christmas.
Was that Christmassy?
Yes, it was. It had some jingly bells on there.
Okay.
What's wrong with you?
Okay.
Just
lovely.
enter into the spirit
Yes,
of the
come
thing,
on,
for heaven's
everyone.
sake. So here comes another pile of festive confessions, which Bobby and Matt will sit in judgment of. Not that they're at any position to judge, to
Yes,
be
we
honest.
are.
Kevin's confession, There Must Be an Angel, the wrong nativity story. Sarah's story, Your Mother Should Know Better. Keith's confession, A Holly Doggy Christmas, plus another classic confession we've unearthed from the Christmas confession crypt, as chosen by you. We start with this one, Jeanette's Tale of Revenge, The Wind Beneath My Wings.
Simon Mayo's Confessions podcast. Please be seated.
Dear Simon and the Christmas crew, a number of years ago, I moved down to the south of England from Scotland with my then partner, an ultimate fiancé, and his name's Steve. Each year we made the 850-mile round trip to Scotland for the festivities, enjoying many a hogmanay there. This became a tradition that continued for many years. My confession dates back to December 2011. To be honest, cracks were beginning to show in the relationship. And as we all know, there's nothing like a Christmas to enlarge those cracks a little bit more. So this particular Christmas, I decided to journey north by myself, always a dangerous sign. A bit earlier than usual, to meet up with some friends for a few days, another dangerous sign. The plan was that Steve would follow on in a couple of days with our black Labrador called Holly. Well, our travel plans all worked well, and we had a lovely Christmas with our respective families.
Okay, this is already sounding great. What a fabulous Christmas.
Time away from each other, you see.
Yeah.
Maybe absence would make the heart grow fonder. Sadly, in this case, the answer was absolutely not at all. However, Father Simon, how to end a long-standing, important relationship? Of course, I could slip out the back, Jack. Make a new plan, Stan. Don't need to be coy, Roy. But to be honest, when you're in this situation, Paul Simon's 50 ways don't really cut it particularly.
No.
So I collected Holly so I could have a few days with her before we journeyed south again. In fact, she stayed with me for the rest of the holiday until Steve went home. It's not much of a relationship, is it, already? Clearly, they're just spending the entire Christmas and New Year apart.
Yeah.
The day Steve was driving home, I would drop Holly round to him. I'd already planned some retail therapy and a trip to a pantomime, so I would travel home a day later. Hop on the bus, Gus. Drop off the key
the entire
lead.
song.
Set yourself free. That's what I needed to do. On the morning of Steve's departure, I was finishing my breakfast, and as I put the milk back in the fridge, I spotted the Brussels sprouts left over from our Christmas dinner. I thought, dare I? Holly had a long journey ahead of her.
Oh, no.
So did need some breakfast to keep her going. So I have to confess that I did feed our dog the bowl of Brussels sprouts. She loved it.
Oh, bet.
Scoffed the lot without any hesitation, and I duly walked her around to Steve's, ready to go home.
Oh, dear.
Make a new plan, Stan.
Yeah.
Set yourself free. I should point out that an 8-hour drive in December is miserable at the best of times, but being in a confined space with limited ventilation opportunities, unless you want to freeze yourself driving with the windows open, and a dog full of sprouts isn't remotely funny, is it?
It is. It is, actually.
I spoke to Steve later in the day, who told me they'd arrived home safely, although he was wondering whether Holly would make it to the new year. I managed to say that she'd eaten her breakfast as normal, which was actually true. I just forgot to mention about the additional bowl of sprouts. Here comes the completely unsurprising final paragraph. Holly was first of all, you need to know this. Holly was none the worse for her feast of sprouts because she actually loved sprouts anyway, and was all well in the end. But I don't seek forgiveness from Steve. We parted company not long after.
Imagine.
I know.
Who saw that coming?
That's a bit of a spoiler.
Oh, no.
But instead, I do seek forgiveness from Holly for using her to get back at Steve, which I suppose really that might be the moment where Bobby is going to go, you know what? That is true. That is actually true. Actually true. That's true. Completely. Actually, that you've used the dog. Your relationship has gone a crumbling, Jeanette. Oh, hang on. She's holding me a note.
Can you read that word? It says weapon.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's very good. A weaponized sprout.
No, I'm saying.
Weaponise the dog.
I'm saying, Jeanette, when Mummy and Daddy don't love each other so much anymore, you don't use the children as weapons. You used Holly.
It's a dog.
I'm sorry.
Actually, I just thought, what would Supervet say? If Supervet was here, Supervet would be really, really upset with me.
The thing is, I'm quite impressed by Holly because you've got two types of dog. You've got a dog that will eat anything, and then you've got a dog that I used to have that went, what is that? So my dog would never eat sprouts. It eats other things. But so I'm really impressed that Holly ate the sprouts. So good dog. But I'm not impressed, Jeanette, because what you should have done, if you didn't love Steve anymore, you should have told him before Christmas, because Christmas is it's a good opportunity to find someone new. So you denied him the best opportunity, Christmas and New Year parties, to kind of get over you and get somebody better.
There's a reason why Paul Simon.
No judgment, it would come to an end.
Plenty of judgment. That's why we're here.
So, Jeanette, I'm not going to forgive you because it wasn't Holly's fault, and you fed her full of sprouts, and she could have been really poorly. So, Jeanette, no.
There's a reason why Paul Simon didn't use the line
Fill the dog with sprouts.
Fill the dog with sprouts. What rhymes with that?
Grouts.
Jack. No, none of that works. Brother Matthew.
Clearly, yes, revenge is a dish best served cold and inside a dog, it turns out, by giving... who has sprouts left over? No one. I mean, who has doesn't put them straight into the recycling as soon as they have finished with Christmas dinner, if indeed they've bothered with sprouts in the first place, which most right-thinking people don't bother. So I am going to forgive because, it's just very funny. Leaving a man in a car with no ventilation
8 hours.
and a dog with, that happening, I'd say very amusing. Not for him, obviously, but no one cares about Steve.
The Confessions Podcast.
Dear Father Simon and the Midwinter Mayonettes, some years ago... Do you like that?
No.
Makes you sound like a backing group, which you are not. You're individuals in your own right.
You could do kind of, I don't know, choreography.
Yeah.
Shawoop-de-whoop. Some years ago on Christmas Eve, my other half and I, like most parents putting the children to bed, were very much in the festive spirit, if you know what I'm saying, and we were all very excited. This meant that putting the little ones to bed was not an easy task. They were super excited about everything. Tea was exciting. Cleaning their teeth was exciting. Going to bed was super exciting because Santa was on his way. When we tucked our cherubs in, kissed them goodnight, I instructed my 5-year-old son Neil that if he were to wake in the early hours of the morning and find that Santa had delivered gifts to his stocking, he was under no circumstances to wake either myself, his father, or his 2-year-old sister. As she was such a light sleeper, I figured out she needed all the sleep that she could get. I knew we certainly did. Nothing until 6 is the rule. I understand. Yes, that's very good. It's quite stern, but there are quite a lot of rules here. Certain in the knowledge that Neil would not disturb us until at least 6 o'clock. That's the plan. My husband and I finished our chores downstairs at 1 a.m. On our way to bed, we crept into the kids' bedroom just to check that their stockings were in place, ready for Santa to fill them with Christmas fare. We crept into bed, tired and a little emotional, but we knew all our preparations were made and Christmas was on its way again.
Excellent.
What a lovely, lovely thought. So, Father Simon, imagine then, at 2:45 a.m., at the door, it's Neil. Can I come in? Frankly, I was incensed, Father Simon, and with my husband snoring next to me, thanks a lot, I pulled the duvet back. I reminded Neil, clearly, that he was not meant to disturb us until 6, and I sent him back to bed. I smiled to myself, thinking, kids will be kids, but clear boundaries are needed at all times, and I think I made myself perfectly clear. Even my dozing husband had got the message. Anyway, boundaries, very important. Yeah. I'd just gone back to sleep. Can I come in? I pretended to be asleep. Go back to bed.
Oh.
It's not time to get up yet. 4:30 a.m. 4:50 a.m.
Goodness me.
That's impressive.
5:10. And then finally, he returned at 5:30. Having hardly slept a wink, I was so cheesed off at having been disturbed yet again. However, Neil was so insistent, he had to come in, and by this time he sounded a little bit annoyed and upset. There is nothing, no reason at all for you to be here before 6, do you remember? Yes, Mum. What time is it? I don't know. It's 5:30. Oh, it's 5:30, Mum. I know, I just told you what time it is. What have you got to say for yourself? And he held out his hands. Apparently, about 1:45, so we worked out later, Neil woke to find that Santa had indeed been. My son had duly checked out his Christmas stocking, and on finding a pair of toy handcuffs, had probably attached them to his wrists, without obviously thinking of the consequences. Having been sent back to bed, he had indeed tried to sort out the rest of his stocking. Not an easy task in handcuffs. He managed to stab at his colouring book. He'd also tried to rescue himself, which is why his toy screwdriver, a Power Ranger and a slinky were now attached to his wrist as well. He'd also tried to go to the toilet. Oh. Did I feel bad, says Sarah. Well, in due course, the in-laws arrived and questioned the children on what Santa had brought them. Needless to say, somehow, although the handcuffs were indeed the best thing ever, according to Neil, we managed to keep it from them that their cherished grandson had spent 3 to 4 hours in handcuffs on Christmas morning. So my confession is that my now dearly departed mum and father-in-law were never aware of the dreadful trauma my son suffered that morning. My son is now in his late 30s and a partner in a top London law firm, so obviously didn't suffer any long-term damage, beg your pardon. However, I still cringe at the thought of my lovely boy lying in bed, trapped, imprisoned, a hostage, ensnared, impounded and incarcerated on Christmas morning, and for that I am truly sorry. Well, you see, if you've... that's the problem. I think by the time that Sarah got to bed, she needed a little bit of a sleep.
Yeah.
She was tired and emotional,
Yeah.
and she, didn't take kindly to it. But anyway, you can see it from Neil's point of view as well. He just needed a rescue. They needed some sleep. Let's check in with Sister Bobby here.
That is heartbreaking. I just love the sound of Neil. He sounds absolutely gorgeous. I didn't see it coming. Who'd have thought? That was fantastic.
He was pretty patient, actually, wasn't he? He was clearly thinking, I've got no idea. I've gone through everything in my stocking.
Poor
I've gone to the
child.
loo. I've tried to rescue myself. I can't.
Do you think he tried to peel the satsuma as well when he had his hands together?
I
know,
don't. He probably just threw
the
that
thing
at his
is,
sister.
I think I'm going to have to be quite tough here because I think you should always just check. Because actually, he stayed awake for quite a long time, and I think it's quite difficult. They might get up once or twice, but to still be awake at 5:30 in the morning, that is really, really tough. So I think I'm going to be tough. I think I'm going to say Sarah, not forgiven.
Not forgiven. Okay, Brother Matthew.
That was superb. I had no idea. I had other things in my head as that was going through, and certainly handcuffs didn't appear at any point.
No, I don't think it has in any of them, because we get quite a few where kids have been told what the rules are and then the rules are broken. But I think this is the only.
But
one
this is great. Clearly, there are questions for Father Christmas here. In what are you doing delivering handcuffs to the kid? I mean, really?
Well, you can have police kits, can't you?
I mean, you can get those. I realise they weren't real handcuffs. They were obviously those sort of plastic ones.
Yes.
But still, there was storing up trouble. I would say, Father Christmas, little note there for you. So I'm going to say forgiven.
You can't give notes to Santa.
I'm giving Santa a few notes, a few pointers there.
I wouldn't do that if I were you.
For Santa. So I'm going to forgive just for that. But that was superb.
Simon Mayo's Confessions Podcast.
Thanks to Sarah's Christmas Eve tale, Your Mother Should Know Better. For those of you who don't listen to the show in the week, I don't know why we even acknowledge them.
I mean, come on.
How much more? We've been here for years. The least you could do is show a a little bit of interest. Anyway, showing you miss out when we hear the reaction to the confessions from those who bothered to listen to it live. Sarah's confession provoked this. Definitely forgiven. It reminds me of the time I was staying at a friend's house with my toddler, who's now 18, and he kept calling me from the bedroom. I ignored him because I thought he was just playing up at bedtime. Turns out he was stuck between the bed and the wall. He was trapped. Still to come, find out what's going on here as Mrs. Santa held on to her husband as though Christmas itself depended on it. That was a good one. So, time again, take a look at the parish notice board, adorned with lovely tinsel, and Bobby is reading what?
Hello, Simon. This is
Hello,
from...
Bobby. Oh, I see. Is that on the email?
Yeah.
It says hello, Simon. Okay.
I was just about to say, hello, Simon and
Hello,
team.
Bobby.
Wendy
Hi, Bobby.
emailed to say...
All right.
So
Hello, Wendy.
Okay.
Oh, that's on the
Wendy.
email, is it?
Okay.
Okay.
You two, stop it.
Okay.
It's like the last day of school. Behave yourselves. Right. Wendy emailed in to say, hello, Simon and team.
Oh, I
Hello.
That's
see.
you two, yeah.
Hi there, Wendy.
I am a social worker for children, and my daughter Rebecca is also a social worker
Hello,
for
Rebecca.
children.
Hello.
I recently attended her graduation. It was a proud moment. Whilst away at the graduation, she told me how she now listens to Drive Time every day, just like me.
Good.
She likes the confessions, just like me. And if the confession hasn't ended by the time she arrives home, she sits in the car and listens to it, just like me. Although we are 300 miles apart, we seem to be turning into the same person. Keep up the good work. It helps to bring perspective in life.
Excellent. Well, that's... Really? Oh, okay. Well, that's
It
very
does.
good. And thank you very much indeed for getting in touch. Matt, you've got something there.
Yes, so Sarah emailed in to say, hello, Airwave Absolutionists.
Hello, Sarah.
Hello, Sarah. I've just listened to the podcast with the man who ran into the stag.
Oh, yeah.
It made me laugh out loud so hard that it was only surpassed by the snort I gave out when the employee from the hotel emailed in to say he hadn't filled out an incident form. The confession from the crypt that I'd love to hear again was a woman who was going to meet the Queen at a garden party and had to buy a suitable dress and ended up ruining whatever occasion Emily, who'd reserved the dress, was planning on attending. Thanks for the great podcast. I would rate you, but as I don't have a car, the reward of a car sticker isn't much of an incentive.
Well, you could just make a stand.
Well, yes. Or you could just, do it without any hope of getting some recompense.
You don't need a car. Just put it on. If you got any windows, have you got no windows in your house?
Like I said, it goes on a shower wall, doesn't it?
Yeah,
you
exactly.
You can't put it on the can't put it on the shower wall, Bobby.
It goes on the
It's-
tiles.
It'll peel off.
No, it'll stay
go
on
down
the
the
tiles.
drain.
Unless you live in a cave, I would say you've probably got a window.
Yes.
Show some commitment. Thanks. Jonathan on this email. Hello, the Cumbersome Collective.
What? That's not getting on.
I'm a 16-year-old college student. Oh, he doesn't know any better.
He might know loads.
Sorry, Jonathan. Anyway, I love the podcast. Anyway, I'm a big fan of Jonathan's.
Yes, so am I.
All thanks to my dad telling me about it. We used to tour the country most weekends when I was playing competitive squash, and often leaving on Fridays, coming home on Monday. We would ensure we listened to the confessions whenever we could, even to the extent that we'd be late for a game, because I was in the car laughing at each and every confession. So when I heard the exciting news a couple of months ago that you collected the confessions into its own podcast, I was obviously in an abundance of joy.
Of course.
Isn't that a
yes.
lovely thing?
Yes.
Now, I've got no photographic proof that it was him that got me into the pod, nor do I understand how a photo truly proves that someone encouraged someone else to subscribe to it. Nonetheless, I'd love a sticker, as I hope this analogy will convince you that he and I are huge fans and that it was him of whom got me into the pod.
Great.
Well, I think that's done enough as far as I'm concerned. Bobby, are we sending a sticker?
I think, and stick it wherever it goes.
No sticker. We need photo proof. Those are the rules. If we bend the rules for you, we have to bend them for everyone. No sticker.
And before we go back to the confessional booth, it's time for the non-compliant confessions. So we tell you what's acceptable. You kind of say, I don't care about that.
Yeah.
Can I mention that one that we weren't allowed to do today? I'll just mention it. Well, there was one that we were going to do, which involved the purchase from a big and well-known department store of a personal massage machine.
Okay.
Oh, is that for your scalp?
Well, I think it was for all parts that need massaging, and
lovely.
it had extra tools that you could
extra
that
tools.
you-
Like your toes.
that you could use for the difficult to reach areas.
Yes, like your
Anyway,
toes that are
very.
right on the end of your legs.
I think because it was written in a particular way that made all the people who are in charge go, "You're not reading that out."
Difficult to reach.
But it might be a perfectly nice Christmas present
Yes.
to have a
Yes.
personal massage assistant.
You know what we need? We need an anti-sticker for all the people that don't make it.
Do you think?
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
don't
like
deserve
a
it.
bad badge, you know?
So Martin gets a mention. Sleeping through to 5 p.m. on Christmas Day because of a heavy session the night before is bad enough. When you factor in that your nan missed out on the turkey completely because of your selfish ways.
Oh dear, that's poor.
Terrible, terrible person. Thank you, Martin. Forgiveness isn't forthcoming for the retired police officer, Kimbo, who tricked a rookie PC into thinking he was drinking on duty by sipping whiskey from the bottle on the beat, and actually it was cold tea.
Oh well, that's okay, isn't it?
Hilarious practical joke from a policeman. That's not what we want. Then there's a festive confession from Carol, the social worker, who, when shaking the hand of a client's horrible husband, but didn't offer up her own hand, instead held out a turkey foot for him to grab hold of. Which meant that he then
very good.
fainted.
Fainted?
Yes.
Oh,
He
come on.
Yes.
He fainted. Oh,
He
it's a turkey foot.
He fainted.
Turkey foot.
Hit
is
the
it?
deck.
No.
And Roger, where do I start? Well, making pretend poos out of
Already a winner.
Yeah,
Already a
definitely.
winner.
I'm with
Go
you.
on.
out of your work's printer ink and paper and hiding all 36 of them around a posh hotel where you were having your work's Christmas meal.
How do you manage that?
Inspired.
Yeah.
I had to do that once.
What?
You have to
Different
make-
ingredients.
Make Christmas poo?
Yeah, it was for a show, not Christmas ones, but it was for a show, so we had to have an abundance of it as a prop for afterwards, yeah.
How do you
Cocoa
make...
and peanut butter.
What is it?
What?
Cocoa powder and peanut butter.
Crunchy peanut butter or smooth?
Depends.
Well, you're not going to... Well, no, I'm not going into that.
There you go. Does that help?
Yeah.
That's a treat for you.
Not really, as a lovely
Not really.
thought. Anyway, so if you have something for us for our new season of Confessions in the new year, confessions@bbc.co.uk. And remember, due to numbers mix-up in the marketing department, we've got quite a few of these stickers going spare, as you might have noticed. So if you're the first to tweet the end of the podcast code word, or if you can get another member of your family to subscribe to the podcast, obviously we need some proof of some
yes.
kind. Or you send us money,
Yes, please send money.
£100 each.
Yes, that's
please.
right. That definitely
By the way,
works.
that's not
Don't
getting
send
on.
us money.
No, do send us money.
It's not right.
Yeah.
Also,
Send us
500
money.
for the producer
Yes.
and 100 for everybody else.
Why don't we
Yeah.
have Monopoly money?
No, I want
real,
real
money.
money.
Real, actual
They are
money.
so wrong. What about
I want
gift
actual
No,
money,
no,
and,
money.
and presents. I want presents.
Unused
a gift.
gift
I want a
tokens.
car. Green Shield stamps.
Send me a yacht.
Anyway, none of that. We don't want any of that. Or you can just send us some interesting correspondence.
Yeah.
That sounds a little bit disappointing. But anyway, you'll get a car sticker. Mentions go to Charlie Dawson in Penrith, who subscribed to her mum Jackie. Jack Peasgood, who has also aided his father's subscription. And Freddie Butler, who, hijacking his mate's phone, subscribed to the podcast on her behalf. They all sent in photographic proof, so a sticker is on its way. So back to this week's confessions. Time to revisit Kevin's confession. There must be an angel.
The Confessions Podcast.
Father Simon, I seek forgiveness for the following account of what happened when I was involved in this particular nativity tale. It's 2011. My daughter Sophie is 7 years old. She was extremely proud to have been chosen as an angel in her school's nativity play. As a result, I decided to take a day off work so that I could not only watch but also video the event so that we had an everlasting memory. Why are you shaking your head?
I'm not
Matt?
shaking my head.
You are.
I was just
I know.
stretching.
Let me interpret that shake of the head. It's, save us from another parent who has to video the whole operation. Sit down. I can't see from here.
That's certainly a point of view.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly what you
Yeah.
were thinking. Anyway, so Kevin's taken the day off. The morning of the day arrives, and with pride and a mixture of apprehension, Sophie went to school. I ensured the video was fully charged and had ample memory. All was set. Things didn't go quite to plan from the start because my wife couldn't find the tickets in her handbag. She was attending a later performance, so told me to go anyway and to tell the teachers that, we got lost. I had a ticket. It's in my wife's handbag. They will recognise you anyway, so just go ahead and bluff your way in. It's a school nativity. How tough can that get? The play starts at 11:30, and in order to find a prime seat, I duly arrived 40 minutes early. The teacher on the door was not known to me, but when I explained the situation about the tickets, she smiled and waved me through, saying, "Enjoy the performance." We have lots of parents like that. I settled into a front row seat right at the centre, scanned the stage with the camera to ensure all was perfect, and it was. I waited while the hall filled up with the other parents, eager to see their little ones, all with their camcorders ready to go. Shake your head, shake your head. Came as no surprise to me that I didn't recognise anyone, because I rarely did the school run. At 11:20, the children started filing onto the stage. I looked out for Sophie, but these were the younger children, as they were all much smaller. When the play commenced at 11:30, I had still not managed to spot our daughter. However, I consoled myself with the thought that the angel costumes had rather big wings, and that it was probably considered a health and safety issue to have the angels on the stage at the same time. I commenced videoing and zoomed in on all the children, just in case I'd missed Sophie. The nativity continued apace, but without any sign of an angel. There were only 5 minutes remaining now, and my brain was racing to justify why I hadn't caught a glimpse of my daughter. And then I had an epiphany, even though that's not until January the 6th. But my heart sank and my stomach churned. To my horror, I began to realise why I'd been unable to locate my proud angel. Sophie was 7 years old at the time and had moved up from primary school to the middle school in September. I was in the wrong school! It was the wrong nativity!
The wrong school.
It was now obvious to me as to why I didn't recognise any of the parents or the children. It was the wrong school!
Yeah, that's why.
It's the wrong nativity! In my blind panic, I shot up out of my chair, right in the middle of the primary school's nativity finale, rushed along the row and out of the back of the hall, causing quite a commotion as I went. Quite a few tuts, because I was getting in their way of the cameras.
Yeah.
Meekly saying sorry to all and sundry, my embarrassment was masked by my horror at what I had done. The middle school's 200 metres away, so with video camera dangling from my neck and banging on my chest, I raced the short distance to the correct school. To my horror, the school door was locked. I rang the bell. What seemed like an eternity passed before a teacher came and peered suspiciously through the door. "Has the play started?" I shouted. "Started? It's just finished," she replied as she let me in. I crept in the back to see our daughter on stage with her classmates, taking the applause for the performance. She immediately spotted me and smiled. I could feel the tears welling up inside me. Afterwards, Sophie said, "Dad, where were you?" "I couldn't see you." I was at the back, love. I was videoing. That's where all the best positions. I was just behind that guy there. I've got some great What a lovely performance. I'm very, very proud of you. When I returned home, I recounted the story to my wife. Her response, Father Simon, is unable to be broadcast on your family show, but the gist of it was, "You silly, stupid old fool."
Yes.
In essence. It was at this point I don't mind admitting that I did share another tear or two, partly because my wife was completely correct, and mainly because I'd missed watching our daughter. So, Father Simon, can I be forgiven for firstly disrupting the primary school's nativity and for lying to my daughter about my stupidity? To put matters okay and put everything fine, my wife took some video of the later performance when she went, and I watched with Sophie the replay, pretending that I had taken it. Perhaps this is another confession to give, because finally I hope I've written into the correct radio programme, because I do get these things wrong. All right. So my daughter still has no inkling as to what actually happened. She still thinks I was there. She believed my lies. Would you advise whether it's a good idea to confess now or to wait until the bride's father's speech as and when she gets married? Wishing you all a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and all parents a great time watching their child in the school nativity plays. Well, my advice, Kevin, would be, well, first of all, the cat's out of the bag anyway. Do it now. Why wait? It's a funny tale, even though it does expose you, as your wife said, to prove that you were a bit of an old fool. What do you say, Sister Bobby?
That makes me tear up, that does. I thought it was really lovely and sad. And you might have been a daft, silly fool, Kevin. But the thing is, it depends on who does the school run. So really, depending on who does that, it's easy, actually, to forget.
You just have to remember which school your daughter goes to.
Yes, but if they're close by or whatever, I don't know the circumstances completely. So it's one of those things where I understand it could have slipped your mind. If you go to a new school, you've only been going there for kind of 3 months before. So I think that is actually forgivable. And also, no one felt worse than you did. And it's awful. I think it's really, really sad. So actually, on this occasion, what I'm going to say is you are forgiven, because I think it's an easy mistake. Listen, I've driven to the wrong school for my siblings.
Have you?
Yeah, well, there's 3 of them. There's lots to remember.
How confusing. What you were
Well, I
supposed to...
forget which one's not at which school. I mean, obviously they're grown up now, but when they were little, I went all over the place. Anyway, so Kevin, I forgive you for that. But also, I think
Queen
save
of
it.
travel.
Save it for the. That means nothing. Save it for the wedding speech. Don't tell her now. I think it's fine.
Brother Matthew.
Yeah, it's all out now. I can't believe Sister Bobby being quite so full of festive forgiveness. There's no way.
She's a pushover.
Kevin gets forgiven here. Number one, I'm going to get the camera and I'm going to make sure it's full of, got all the right memory and I've got all the tripods and everything else. But I don't know where my daughter goes to school. Unbelievable. And then walks out during the finale. Sorry, excuse me, sorry. I know it's your child that's up there and this is the special day and you won't get another chance because you're not videoing it like me. But I'm going to walk in front of everyone and then wonder why I don't get allowed in because obviously the other performance is still going on. Unbelievable. And to cap it all off, he may well have sent this confession to Eddie Mayer instead. Unbelievable. I am not going to forgive.
This is the place where penitents seek our pardon for their sins. Simon Mayo's Confessions Podcast.
Father Simon and the Radio 2 Festive Synod. I haven't told anyone of the incident I'm about to confess to, and even now, some 43 years later, I feel uneasy in relating this shameful episode to you. So we're really going back here. In the 1970s, I lived in a Derbyshire coal mining village, different times, which was surrounded by some beautiful countryside. Stereotypically, in a mining community, my family owned pigeons, ferrets, and a menagerie of other animals, including 3 whippets, but we had no flat caps. In order to exercise said whippets, my brother and I would walk them down the country lane opposite to where we lived, and one of us would hold them at the edge of a field whilst the other stood a few hundred metres away shaking a piece of fake fur for the whippets to race towards. This we repeated a few times, allowing them to display their natural instincts to chase after anything that was small and furry. The incident for which I am seeking your forgiveness took place in the week leading up to Christmas in 1974. It occurred one evening as I was returning from a long walk with the dogs, and I was within sight of my home, the house lights shining in the darkness. It was a very rural area, virtually no traffic, all was very quiet. Then I began to hear a noise. It was the faint sound of music playing in the distance. I stood for a while as the music gradually grew louder and louder until I realised where it was coming from. I looked into the distance towards the entrance of the lane and I saw the brightly lit lorry dray belonging to the local round table decked with fake snow, a couple of elves and Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus dressed in their long red cloaks playing I Wish It Would Be Christmas Every Day on their record deck. Oh, what a lovely treat for the kiddies, I thought, looking on. Bobby has a beautiful smile on.
Lovely, wistful thoughts.
Yes, I think she knows where we're going here. It's at this point I would like to appeal to your sense of understanding, Father Simon, and perhaps you'll appreciate that I couldn't have possibly foreseen that just at the point when I was about to secure the whippets to their leads, the lorry stopped for Mr. and Mrs. Santa to wave to the excited children in their homes, when a gust of wind picked up seemingly from nowhere and blew the hem of Mr. Santa's long fur-trimmed cloak over the edge of the lorry. My heart missed more than a few beats, even now as I write this, as I recall the vision of my 3 whippets, clearly thinking, rabbits! Tearing up the lane at a pace that Usain Bolt would have struggled to match, launching themselves at the white fur trim on Santa's cape that was billowing enticingly for them. What fun they seemed to be having as my shouted pleas for them to let go of Santa were drowned out by Roy Wood. The whippets set about Santa as... It's not a line I've actually ever said before. As Mrs. Santa held on to her husband as though Christmas itself depended on it. Santa then inadvertently kicked over the record player as he lost his balance and clung on to his robes as the whippets ripped away at the fur trim. I started to sprint the 50 metres or so up the lane to retrieve the whippets when I saw them running back towards me, the hem of Santa's robe in their mouths. I stopped running and stood transfixed in the darkness. An attack on Santa seemed an unforgivable sin. Surely I would be presentless forever. Well, I'm relieved to report that Santa regained his balance and his composure, that one of the elves managed to find Mrs. Santa's hat, a little bit of saliva on it, and one of her boots amongst the fake snow, and the record deck was soon playing out the cheery Christmas tunes once more, so no harm was done. I told myself unconvincingly, apart from Father Christmas' tattered and battered hemline, now a few inches shorter than tradition dictates. But it's not too racy, really. Later in the evening, my dad returned from the pub where news of Santa's troubles had been regaled with much jollity by the parents who'd seen it with their kids. It appears that as the dogs were on the darker side of the dray, they hadn't been seen by anyone properly. Therefore, no one could point the finger at me. Father Simon, I seek forgiveness for not admitting to all concerned the real reason for Mr. and Mrs. Santa appearing to have a domestic on the back of the dray, and for probably giving the young kiddies nightmares after they saw Santa grappling with his missus and the dogs and then falling off the sleigh. Chaotic scenes indeed in Derbyshire. Despite it being 43 years ago, I still feel a sense of shame when this time of year comes around. May I have your forgiveness, please? What a scene down the lanes in Derbyshire, in the mining village, as the Whippets set about Santa. I imagine that we're talking about fake fur, but it's the 70s, so who knows? But let's assume that it's fake fur, otherwise it all gets way too... just very, very complicated. Faux fur guaranteed.
Yeah.
No one had... No, I don't think that. Anyway, let's just assume that that's right. Yeah, what do you think then, Sister Bobby?
Well, full marks for Santa and Mrs. Santa going out with a record player as well, on vinyl. Roy Wood, how fantastic.
I know, imagine...
Over the
being on a
bumps.
lorry playing
Yeah.
records. How's that going to work
That's fantastic. Anyway, so I love that. The thing is, of course, you should always keep your animals under control, but it's a kind of rural environment. There's no kind of real risk there, is there? So I can understand why you were just, leisurely walking along. I loved this. I thought it was absolutely hilarious, and luckily no one was really harmed. So I'm going to say I'm actually full of festive spirit, Keith, tonight.
Is that right?
And it was 1974.
Yes.
And the dogs had fun and no real harm done. So you are forgiven.
Okay, Novice, what do you make of that then?
Well, here you go. Wizard on vinyl, hurrah. But I'm not going to forgive you, Keith, and I'll tell you why. Okay? 2 reasons. Whippets, the beasts were not under control at all. So it could have been a small dog, for instance. That's quite furry. They could easily have gone for that. A cat, did they go for those as well? They should have been on leads. They weren't. They raced off. They could have, we could have traumatised poor old... Father Christmas. And that's the real reason I'm not forgiving you, Keith. It's because it's not Santa Claus. Santa Claus is some American import. It's Father Christmas. Father and Mrs. Christmas. Absolutely. It is. It's always been Father Christmas. Always will. And originally in a green coat. Never mind a red one. We know where that one came from. Overseas. So, Keith, definitely not forgiven.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Superb. Well done, Nigel. Quite right, too.
Yeah.
If you go to White Hart Lane at Christmas, you'll find that Santa wears blue and white. So
Well, that's okay. I'm happy with that.
I suspect the same is true at Everton.
Some fizzy drink.
Yes.
Anyway,
so,
Matthew.
well, Whippet's going for Santa. Really, this is nature running its course, isn't it? This is very much the circle of life.
Take him down!
Yes, absolutely. Off you go. Very much as they were brought up in the fields, the Whippets learned to take down Santa. So, this is very, very, very much responding to the primeval urges through the centuries. So, let's say... forgiven because it's Christmas, so yes, I'm going to forgive because the dogs just do what dogs do.
All right, so
bring down Santa.
Simon Mayo's Confessions podcast.
That was Keith's confession, a holly doggy Christmas, which prompted this reaction on the people's verdict. Nick and Felix, though, it's at times like these. I wonder what Barbara Woodhouse would have said.
What would she have said? Yeah.
Sit, almost certainly. Very good. And that concludes this week's batch of confessions. Maybe it's inspired you to send in your own dark, shameful little secret. confessions@bbc.co.uk. Before we go, we've got another treat from the Confessions Festive Crypt. This week, it's been requested by Andy Martin, Andy in Rohenbach in Austria, and Ben Lewis, who writes, "Can we pretty please have my favourite and most shocking confession of all? The man who went looking for vegetables for Christmas on Christmas Eve, and all the shelves were bare, so he had to get creative."
Yes.
Very bad, but it's a classic, and here it is.
The Confessions podcast.
Dear Father Simon and the Festive Collective, my seasonal confession is one that has weighed heavily on my conscience every Christmas day for nearly 20 years. Although I ask for forgiveness, my confession is such that I feel it won't be forthcoming, but being the time of goodwill to all men, I can only hope. Given the nature of this confession, I feel that it may be prudent to have some anonymity and vagueness, so I shall call myself Bill and tell you that I live in a lovely part of the country. And that's it.
There you go.
That's how anonymous he wants to be. The fateful day of my eternal shame was Christmas Eve, and I'm the father to 3 delightful and excited children, all under the age of 5, who were beyond excitement and expectation for the big day. My beloved wife, Belinda, had a very clear notion of how Christmas should unfold, and it was going to be run with military precision. Letters had been written and posted to Father Christmas. The traditional tree with all its decorations was in position, taking centre stage in the lounge. The rooms were adorned with tinsel and associated paraphernalia, and Christmas songs were being played 24/7. Christmas Day was nearly upon us, and we were going to meet it head-on and have a wonderful, fun-filled time with all the excitement that goes with it. We were ready and fully prepared. All that was left for me was to go to our local supermarket and make the last, final, festive purchase. The turkey and gammon were being lovingly basted and cooked by Belinda, and we had everything that we needed. Even if there was a nuclear fallout during the festive period, we were self-sufficient for a period of a year or so. The last purchase to make Christmas Day complete were the vegetables to accompany the burgeoning turkey. See, Simon, I wanted to have the veg as fresh as possible, hence why I left it to the last minute on Christmas Eve to purchase it. So with my shopping list firmly grasped in my hand, I drove the short distance to the supermarket with the very simple task of buying the following: a selection of potatoes, carrots, swede, cauliflower, greens, and the oh-so-very important and much-maligned sprouts. That was all I needed, nothing more and nothing less. Things were looking positive as I parked my car in a very quiet car park. I positively skipped into the supermarket, grabbing a basket en route, thinking this was going to be much quicker than I thought. It was at this point that my world stopped and my chin fell to the ground and everything went into slow motion. The humongous and unavoidable sight of rows and rows of empty shelves was clearly, frighteningly visible. There were no vegetables to be seen anywhere, not even enough to sustain a mouse and his family for Christmas. I was horrified, to say the least. My cunning plan of leaving it late to buy the veg fresh was now in tatters. It was too late to go anywhere else. My immediate thought was how disappointed my children would be with only turkey and baked beans for dinner. However, this was quickly replaced by visions of a slightly irate wife, to say the least, and how it would be explained to me at every given opportunity through the next year as to how I single-handedly ruined Christmas and undermined all her previous hard work. And it was at this point that a moment of divine intervention occurred. For what I saw, Father Simon, before my very eyes was a venerable and an esteemed old lady who just happened to be pushing her trolley, which for me at that time just happened to contain the Holy Grail. You've got it in one. Her trolley contained all my essential needs of fresh vegetables and in bountiful supply. I suspect that the lady in her wisdom had obviously pre-ordered her veg and had arrived at the supermarket to collect it and was now slowly wandering around the store picking up her final supplies. Well, the primeval need to feed my family unfortunately kicked in, and all rational thought flew out of the window, and I could see that I may not need to start a new life after all. This lady, who I shall now refer to as Betty, may be very clever and forward-thinking, but she wasn't quick. When I was happy that Betty was the furthest point from the tills and that there were no other customers around, I waited for her to look at the shelves for her next item, and when her attention was away from her vegetable-laden trolley, I leapt on it like a predatory tiger and ran with it as fast as I could to the checkout area while she was still checking out the goose fat or something similar. At the tills, I quickly unloaded all the veg and left the remainder of Betty's shopping in the trolley and quickly purchased and bagged all my ill-gotten gains. I managed to grab my bags and run out to the supermarket as quick as my shopping would allow. What can I say, Father Simon, apart from the fact that my family and I had a wonderful Christmas dinner the following day with food-laden plates containing all the seasonal trimmings and plenty of festive vegetables. In fact, my plate was positively overflowing, my children were none the wiser, and a lovely day was had by all. So the part of forgiveness, I'm ashamed to admit that at the time, I was a fine, upstanding pillar of the community. In fact, I was an officer of the law.
What?
I have to say, I was paid to serve and protect the public, especially little old ladies, which makes this story all the worse.
Unbelievable.
It's a copper at Christmas, everybody. I'm not expecting it, but I mainly asked forgiveness from Betty's relatives, as there were far too many vegetables in one little old lady's trolley for her to eat on her own, so I suspect she might have had company, maybe some kids and grandkids probably attending as well, so alas, on Christmas Day they would probably have ended up just pulling crackers and wearing party hats whilst tucking into beans. Well, I've carried this remorse ever since. I pass it over to you now, a horrified collective, to cleanse my conscience from a rather plump bill. I suspect a bill, by the way. There'll be none coming. Anyway, let's see what a shocked and horrified Sister Rebecca makes of that.
That is one of the most outrageous confessions we've ever had. Don't you think? I really am shocked.
You see, it's just this side of legal.
Well, it's not really legal. I mean, the minute they're in her trolley, it's really stealing, isn't it?
Well,
apart
it
from
isn't.
That, but apart from,
Well, it
from
isn't.
that, the
That's the
morality of it is appalling.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
what, is Christmas a time for survival of the fittest? No. Christmas
no, what I'm
is a
saying
time
is
for...
they're not yours until you paid for them.
That's not the point, Simon Mayo. Is that what you... Oh, dear. Is that what you're arguing?
I'm just being provocative.
Are you Plump Bill? Did you do this?
What do you think?
No. No, sorry, can't even comment on this. It's just too awful. Not forgiven.
Not forgiven. Let's see what Novice Nige makes of it.
Oh, Kill Bill. There you go. That's how Harvey Keitel in Bad Lieutenant started out, by nicking Granny's sprouts. And that's, yeah, absolutely appalling.
No, that's not right, by the way.
Yeah, no.
That isn't right.
What, the film? No, he didn't start
True,
it.
I'm just checking.
Yeah,
I think we'd remember that if it happened in the film.
good
Yeah.
film. Breaking Bad. Bill, no. Plum Bill from somewhere nice. You've probably done time since then.
I don't understand what you're
It's not
talking about.
making
now.
any sense.
Yeah, no, he isn't. Well, no, I know I'm not. But you know what I mean? It was not good, and you're naughty, and we're not. I'm definitely not going to forgive you this
Okay,
time.
fine. Brother Matthew.
There really aren't any redeeming qualities here for Bill at all. And I mean, fair play to him for sending the confession in, because he knows no one's going to forgive him. This is obviously not in the spirit of Christmas. And as you know, I'm not a big believer in karma. That said, something dreadful's coming round the corner for Plump Bill. Obviously, no one's going to forgive. I can't think anyone's going to forgive him. So actually, I'm going to forgive him, because at least he sent the story. He sent the story in.
It was Betty's fault,
Yes,
wasn't it?
we all feel better at ourselves. We do. We all feel better about ourselves because we think, well, at least I'm not Plump Bill.
Betty the
yes, forgive
Temptress.
him.
Betty the Temptress.
Okay,
Right.
all right. So because he's made us feel better,
Yes,
he's
then I'm
forgiven.
going to forgive for that.
Simon Mayo's Confessions podcast.
Shall I tell you why I love that one? I love that one just for Nigel's verdict. Nigel's verdict makes no sense. I've listened to it a number of times. It makes no sense.
There's always
It's
a
us
moment-
quoting Harvey Keitel.
There's always a moment in everything that Nigel said. I have no idea what he's saying. I just let him say it.
But it's also a confession that you absolutely cannot forgive under any circumstances, I think.
Do you think?
Yeah, it's an
I think
absolutely
I did forgive,
unforgivable.
but I knew I was
Well,
going to be the
doesn't
only person who
surprise
would. Yeah.
And only you would forgive that because of the way you are.
Absolutely.
And that was Rebecca who's turning up there along with Nigel. But Rebecca was always just very sensible
Yes, quite right.
and speaking for the nation. And there's Nigel going, I don't know.
Harvey Keitel. What?
If you have a request for a vintage confession, send us over as many details as you can and we'll try and find it because our filing system is erratic. Confessions at bbc.co.uk and we'll do our best to dig it out of our crypt. Sister Bobby forgave 2 this week. Final tally of the year, 92.5 forgives, 89.5 not forgiven.
Wow, that's close.
Matt, you forgave 3. So
Yeah.
your total is 126.5 forgives
Yep.
against 54.5 not
There you
forgives.
go.
So you are a big, big softie.
Well, you know, I think I've seen the beauty in everyone.
No,
I think
you
that's what it
don't.
is. I
No,
think
you
what that
absolutely
means
don't.
is that I
No.
see my fellow man and woman very
No,
much.
you don't.
What you see
on
is
on
the
par.
rot in everyone, and you see yourself in
I
them.
do.
Yeah.
Oh, I do.
and you have the
a little
morals of a
sewer rat. Yeah.
That's it for this year's Confessions. New slate coming in January, series 37 or whatever it is. Send in your own, please, confessions at bbc.co.uk. And if you made it to the end of the last podcast... Oh, by the way, before we go, there is a very, very special Best of 2017 podcast, an extra Christmas present, because we're not here next week. So if you want to get some of the very, very best confessions all in one podcast, then if you subscribe, you don't have to do anything. It'll just be delivered. Otherwise, subscribe, for heaven's sake. It makes life so much easier. If you made it to the end of the last podcast, you had to tweet, turn it to full organ. Thanks to Richard, who was the first to tweet the code word. A car sticker is winging its way to you now. Karen, Brenda, Lou, Jeff and loads of others did just that, but were a little bit late, so therefore losers. This week's code phrase is... Oh yeah, we'll do this. Is that a weaponised sprout? Because that'll work.
Yeah.
Remember not to weaponise your sprouts this Christmas.
Come on.
But also
Come on,
to
everyone.
subscribe. And don't forget, you can hear our whole radio show every weekday from 5 on Radio 2. But not next week, because we're not here.
That's true.
Thank you for downloading us. See you in the new year.
Bye.
Bye.
The Confessions podcast. Go in peace.